principle did the Roman centurion illustrate to Jesus? The principle of authority. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh. Why did Jesus marvel at the words of the Roman centurion? When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. True or false? The Roman government provided food for its prisoners. The food had to be brought to the prisoners by friends or relatives. When John the Baptist began to have doubts about Jesus, what proof did Jesus provide? Jesus said, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up, and the poor have good news preached to them." Like the pouting children who would not play wedding or funeral games, the religious leaders said, "John the Baptist and the Son of Man, Jesus, was a glutton and a friend of tax collectors and sinners." John the Baptist as a demon, and the Son of Man, Jesus, was a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Now our professor, Dr. Ward Williams.
We move on now to the feast at which Jesus was anointed by a sinful woman. I want to make a comment about a word in verse 36 before Malcolm reads. One of the Pharisees asked him to eat with him, and he went into the Pharisee's house and sat at table. And I want you to erase that word sat out of your mind, and I want you instead to think of Jesus as lying on a couch with his left elbow on the couch, his left hand supporting his head, and he is reaching out and eating out of a common dish with his right hand. In just a moment, in commenting on this, I'll explain why this is important, both to this passage, to the Last Supper, and several other scenes in the life of Christ. But begin to read in verse 37 and go down, well, read clear down through verse 46. It'll take a little while, but read it.
And behold, a woman of the city who was a sinner, when she learned that he was sitting at table in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster flask of ointment, and standing behind him at his feet, weeping. And she began to wet his feet with her tears, and wiped him with the hair of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now, when the Pharisee who had invited him saw it, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner." And Jesus answering said to him, "Simon, I have something to say to you." And he answered, "What is it, teacher?" A certain creditor had two debtors. One owed 500 denarii